There are more red jelly beans in bag A than bag B.
At first we weren't really good at the beginning of the year. Now we're getting better at doing the questions and all that, especially writing answers where you have to write. I think I got a lot better at that from the beginning of the year to now.
I think that a lot of what's changed is the questioning. How do we measure probability?
Number what you want, find
the number you want. I ask them a lot of different questions, and I encourage them to elaborate on their responses. So I don't really give them a lot of time to mess around, and they don't really have time since they're so actively discussing, and their learning impacts their neighbors' learning.
He helps us from if we don't know what they are, then he'll go to an easier one. Then once we get that one, he'll go up. And if we get that one, he just keep going up step by step. It helps us a lot by understanding the problems, just going up step by step.
Do you believe that this is a true statement?
And if we do get it, then we just tell him how we get it and why.
And I've had some very awesome experiences with that, where some of my lowest performing students who've had a lot of struggles and difficulties in math, they'll stop, they'll argue their point, they'll defend their answer, and they'll be able to justify it to a point where they convince the rest of their group where they're at. That's another amazing thing, actually, is once you set these kids to go, they'll run with it. And once they get going, what about here? What about Big B? Yes, sir.
No, it just says there's more red in Big A than there is in Big B.
They definitely start controlling the classroom, and it is their classroom, so they need to get to that point. So I'm really happy. Whenever that happens, I get to step back and just watch. It's awesome.
You guys understand what we need to do?
Creating an argument and reasoning through it mathematically applies beyond math. And once they have the confidence to understand their point, discuss it, and put it out there, keep it up, and justify their answer, it's going to help them in social studies, English, language arts, everywhere.
I think it's better to understand the problem than to memorize it, because if you memorize it, you're not learning what you should be.
It makes me feel good because that means that we're learning more, and we could go on, when we graduate and go to college, and just helps us, and it feels good that we learn more stuff.
Okay, well, you are just fixing him as he goes.
Because I don't know how to do this. Thank you.
You're always responsible from the beginning the class starts. You just have to get in there and try your hardest, ask questions, and get it done. There's no teacher doesn't really force you to learn. You have to jump in and do it.
What was A? What did he put in for A?
I said it was in positive.
The learners were taking the foundational instruction they got and building on it themselves and owning it. And it sticks better, they understand it better. What they're doing when they're presenting their solution is they're justifying their answer. They're justifying the path they took to get there. They are making sense of the math that they have produced. They are clarifying it to their classmates and to themselves.
If you can explain why the answer is the answer, it seems like they will understand the problem and how to do it more. We don't memorize it. We go through the steps and we learn how to do it with different problems, different ways to do it.
Okay, do you have your partners? Please make sure that you've got your answer in the simplest terms.
You'll go through the problem both ways, and you'll find a way that's easier and more simple, that gets you to the solution faster and more efficiently. So you usually choose the one that's easier.
Who wants to show me the first one? Okay, here's ties. Did anybody get anything different? It teaches kids to persevere through a problem, be it a math problem or a problem in a social setting, or just an issue that they need to work through. Okay, good. I like that strategy. Make sure you justify your answer. Be careful with your thinking. You're trying to kind of simplify it, so I think that it gives them the confidence to move through and move past and try different ways before they just give up. And you know, that's probably not one of my math standards, but I know it's something that a kid could get out of it.
It feels really good to conquer a step in math, especially if you were like, how do you do that? And you're really confused about it, and then you finally get it, you're like, oh my gosh, I get it! It's really kind of exciting sometimes. It seems like this class is a gym class for your mind.
Here is what's going to happen. If you are the CSR leader, read your card to your team. They'll sit in the same group as you were.
I look forward to Mr. Escobar's class because one thing, we always work in groups. I comprehend better when we work in groups. I like it also because I'm always learning new vocabulary.
Students have to be able to gather information while they're reading and taking text-based notes and be able to later on cite their evidence. LDC is helping my students reading like a detective and writing like a reporter.
What's the most important who or most important what about what you read? And then 3 details.
There's different ideas and you either argue with the ideas that other people have or you agree, and it gives you different perspectives of what you learn or what you talk about.
Putting learning in the hands of the students is key, where students can take ownership of their learning, where they can help each other out, where they become the teachers and we can become more, as a facilitator, it's more student-centered and not teacher-centered. The onus is on the students to actually teach each other and to learn from each other.
We're independent, you know, because he's Mr. Escobar. He helps us when we don't know, but it's mostly us doing our work by ourselves.
They are learning at a higher level where it's just not rote memorization of facts and dates. Facts and dates have their place, but those facts and dates don't necessarily drive the critical thinking that students are using in these LDC units that teachers are creating.
It builds up your confidence and gives you more responsibility for what you're doing.
Today, this is what our agenda is. We are going to review edited.
We were doing a memoir for a person who was there at the Japanese internment camp when Executive Order 9066 was signed and released by President Franklin D. Roosevelt. My character's name is Chizu Tsukamoto, and she's a 16-year-old schoolgirl who recently was told the news of the internment camp.
So you could also use something that describes.
So I'm pretty much writing about how she felt at the time, what she thought of the experience and everything.
You are going to be talking about what it's been like for you to live there for the past year or so.
I want people to know that this class, just history in general, is a big part of your education. And I feel that this new way to teach it has helped me go far, and I feel like my whole class has even done more because we have a lot of slackers in our classroom. Even them, I asked them during lunch and they're like, oh yeah, I did that. I got the homework done. And I was like, you did? Oh, that's awesome. So then it's like helping your friends to help you. Just doing that is making a difference.
It's actually pretty fun to learn, actually pretend to be a person being at that time of period. So you can actually feel what it actually might have been like, and it goes to the point of thinking more outside the box. It's a different way to learn, and I really like the fact that doing something more engaging instead of just learning from the book.
Instead, show. Walking into the warm kitchen, the smell of my favorite dish cooking filled the air. I sat down to join my family for dinner. You can visualize that. LDC has certainly changed my life in terms of my ability to be a more improved teacher. Remember, I sent you an email with this PowerPoint and the details of the links that you could look up to get that information, okay? How I plan out each lesson, all of those things play into how I build my modules, and that's all a result of the Literacy Design Collaborative.
Having this combination of reading and writing and also learning about the material is a great combination.
When I have the ability to help someone else and then help myself in the process, I feel like it's doing a lot of work. Like, I get to have more fun, I guess.
But I think that's the big one that we've seen the most so far. But there are definitely more.
We have been reading a lot of books that involve different societies. So this morning we were discussing the society in the book we're reading called The Giver.
Let's say a person in history gets killed.
We sit in a circle, so like we get to discuss our ideas to one another. The way we talk to each other, it's easier to learn because you get one another's ideas and we figure everything out as a group.
But are they just his memories? When we first start doing these literature circles and Socratic seminar, they're always looking at me.
What emotions is that?
What you notice as the year progresses, they start looking to each other. And pretty soon I'm no longer even a part of it. Most of them were illiterate. They chose not to read. They discussed how they didn't read novels on their own, and now they're reading multiple books a year, and they're getting more complex even in their own personal decisions for what they want to read.
Reading these books, we can learn a lot about our own community and how our society works and how people in our community act and why they act that way. We have tied most of the books that we read to our community, and basically we're learning lessons, I guess you could say, on life and how it changes.
What the LDC modules have helped me do is to be intentional. I felt like sometimes I just stumbled into these great moments in my classroom, but now I can create them.
How do they share it? How do they describe their day?
I feel like we do learn a lot more that way because we get to hear each other. It's not just like she's talking to you, we talk as one.
Do they go to him?
I feel like it's way easier to learn that way than to be talked at.
When students take charge of their own learning, they learn how to take the reins of their life in a lot of ways, because this is teaching them the skills of how they want to be as they approach things as an adult. And so if we don't hand them over the reins now, how are they going to know how to take that driver's seat because they hit 18 if they haven't had a chance to really develop those practices?
This year we've read books beyond my level of reading, and I've learned a lot from it.